Good afternoon. Welcome to Teleislas News, the most relevant and important information of the day. Authorities investigate a new case of murder that occurred last night on the Newball Avenue, where a man was killed while he was in this area. The deceased is of Honduran nationality.
Benjamin Galindo Calderon, 52 years old, was murdered last night on Newball Avenue. This Honduranian citizen was on the road when he was surprised by his assailants, who shot him repeatedly, taking his life. It should be noted that policemen from the National Police who arrived at the scene transported the victim to the hospital, who arrived without vital signs. Upon this moment, the authorities have not yet issued a statement on this criminal act. Teleislas News will be attentive to the information provided by the authorities on this murder that once again surprises and worries the community of the island.
The governor of the island visited the works in progress on the 16 houses that are being built in agreement with the company Essential for the relocation of families living in areas at risk due to the proximity to the sea in sectors of Sun Bay, South End, and were affected by Hurricane Iota.
Governor Everett Hackins Green, together with the Secretaries of Infrastructure and Public Works, Alfredo Escalona Peterson, Public Utilities and Environment, Asville Bryan, as well as the consortium Pavimento San Andres, inspected the casting works of 170 meters of lane of the Forcana Road that will connect with the sector of Tamhuka. They also toured the Pepa Hill, Orange Hill, and Dopigoli sectors where road works are being carried out. The inspection of works will continue with the departmental governor and related portfolios in the afternoon due to the rains that at this time cover the skies of the island. It should be noted that the works being carried out in different sectors of the island are expected to be completed during the term of the current departmental administration. Teleislas News will be bringing you the words of the departmental governor on the inspection visit to be made throughout the day.
12 people were evacuated from a hotel due to an emergency that broke out after a fire in one of the rooms of the establishment. The fire department timely arrived on the scene.
At around 9 a.m., the firefighters responded to a call from the community after observing a conflagration inside a hotel apartment in the central zone of the island, managing to control the emergency and avoid injury to persons.
Queremos informar a la comunidad. I want to inform the community of the archipelago that at 9:15 a.m. on September 30 of 2022, a call is received from the community reporting a structural fire on Duarte Bloom Avenue in the establishment called Aparta Hotel. Immediately, the firefighting units activated the alarm and went to the site of the conflagration, where they first evacuated 12 people who were there and managed to control the incident successfully. In the investigation to determine the origin of the causes, it has been established that it was due to an overheating in the air conditioning systems.
And the recent apprehension of 2 teenagers for the homicide led Teleislas News to consult the opinions of members of the Youth Council and the head of the Social Development Portfolio on what could be the triggers of this problem affecting the department. Following, this is what they express.
The problem of insecurity and homicide by the criminal gangs that exist is one of those that most afflict the island people. Recently, 2 teenagers were captured and called to respond for the crime of homicide in an event that occurred on August 30 of this year. Teleislas consulted the opinion of Municipal Councilor Kimberly Torres and psychologist Guillermo Rodriguez, also Secretary of Social Development. Guillermo points out that this problem stems from the recruitment, use and utilization of children, adolescents and young people.
En el departamento tenemos presencia.
In the department, we have the presence of criminal groups or gangs that have been dedicated to the recruitment, use, and utilization of adolescents and young people, and that in the framework of the conflict have been settled in the department for the control of certain routes, for the control of the territory itself and the merit. The young people who have joined the ranks are the ones who are putting their chests out in the face of the attention that these 2 groups or other groups are trying to exert to control the territory.
According to Guillermo, part of the solution is to accept that these problems exist in the territory and that one of the answers is to understand the phenomenon of violence in the island and that they must be resolutive and not avoidant.
Que las salidas a la violencia tienen que ser.
The solutions to violence have to intervene in the conditions that generate violence, and this implies intervening in the real phenomenon, which has to do with drug trafficking activity and the recruitment, use, and utilization of young people within these groups or gangs.
For her part, Kimberly says that it must be because the school dropouts.
Considering everything that has been happening, I believe that the main trigger is dropping out of school, because let's say that it is the most important factor in the life of a young person. So when these young people decide to drop out of school, they are in one way or another left out on their own.
Kimberly emphasized that it is essential to highlight the importance of education and educational training within the families and schools. Guillermo also states that it is necessary to make an important social reflection about the opportunities that are being given to young people, not only from the public initiative but also from the private sector.
Es importante que el sector privado empiece.
It is important that the private sector begins to generate reflections on the transaction of work and family time, since it is found that in most of the sectors of the island, members of the family are working for long periods of time, since this is the dynamic that the tourism and hotel sector demands. This generates an absence of parental supervision, absence of involvement, difficulties in the bond, and those children end up being raised accompanied by some models that are not the most appropriate.
Now we continue with important progress of the agribusiness cluster from the Chamber of Commerce.
The Director of Businesses Development of the Chamber of Commerce has already informed this news agency about the progress of the agribusinesses cluster with the entrepreneurs of the department. Judge Manuel notes that they are in process of finalizing the consultancy.
At the moment, we have 40 businessmen who have participated in the strategic strengthening activities, in which we have already identified a model action plan for governance and decision making of the cluster, the identification of high value markets, what is the future vision of these companies that are associating, and also the big challenges in terms of projects.
According to Manuel, in regarding to commercial component, there are already 9 companies that are ready with a high score to participate in businesses fair at a national and international level, highlighting the great potential that exists in the archipelago in terms of marketing in English, which is a competitive advantage over the rest of the country.
We made very important participation in the Bucaramanga Business Conference for the cluster, in which we identified a specialized target market of 40 restaurants which are shipping the dehydrated basket pepper product and are interested in other specialized products from San Andres.
Manuel finally states that it is a component of formulation structure, a project focused on a productive innovation center where they will have the condition for the certification of sanitary registration, INVIMA registration, and resources and environmental friendly projects.
In other news, the COVID-19 cases continue to increase in the country. Let's get to know the current situation on the island regarding the virus.
The National Institute of Health, in its daily report of September 29, did not register new cases of coronavirus for the archipelago. On the other hand, there are no deaths due to this virus in the island. According to the latest report from the departmental government, there are no reports of active cases throughout the archipelago. The local administration indicates that 10,228 people have been recovered so far during the pandemic, as well as a total of 155 deaths have been reported so far during the health emergency. The occupation of COVID-19 intensive care unit is not registered so far in the official page of the local government. Health authorities invite our citizens to maintain preventive care to avoid catching the virus that is still present in the world, and also specify that those who have symptoms of COVID-19 should call their health insurance company, which must visit their home within 72 hours of testing.
And now let's get to know other facts that today are making news in our brief news section.
The The San Andres, Providence, and Santa Catalina Police Command, led by Colonel Doris Edith Pinto, will perform today, September 38th at 4:40 p.m. the promotion ceremony for a group of executive-level commanders and patrolmen who enter the rank of Deputy Superintendent. A new rank is achieved by men and women who, with professionalism, vocation, and great leadership, have contributed to the strengthening of the service to the police, focusing on maintaining the security, tranquility, and citizen coexistence among inhabitants of the archipelago. The Coralina Environmental Corporation identified the action of dumping soapy water from a vehicle which was transporting a container. Upon verifying the load, it was observed a liquid detergent, which apparently presented ruptures and subsequent spillage on the public road, a situation that could generate accidents due to the mixture with rainwater that occurs constantly on the territory, generating soapy areas. The team of the corporation required the driver of the cargo vehicle that by means of some drying material, the spillage of the detergent liquid is retained. In addition, an inquiry was conducted to determine who was responsible for the event. In order to verify compliance with the necessary measures for the operation and that they have the National Tourism Registry, official from the Secretary of Tourism took some lodging establishment accompanied by delegates from the Vice Ministry of Tourism and Police. During the activity, the owners were reminded of the importance of being up to date with the documentation and the fines to which those who fail to comply with the established regulations are exposed.
With these information, we reach to the end of our broadcast, but we see you tonight at 8 p.m. in another broadcast of Teleislas News. Good afternoon.